We are live.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the Elyria City Council meeting for Monday, December 21st, 2020. This will be our last council meeting this year, and hopefully better things to come in 2021. So with that being said, I'd ask that we stand and take a moment of reflective silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And Mr. Baird, if you would lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Baird, that was a quick moment of reflective silence. I think we got it in.
Hey.
Very good. Mr. Clerk, can I have roll call, please?
Sir. Mr. Callahan. Mr. Sierra.
Here.
Mr. Oswald. Mr. Oswald.
Unmute, John.
Here.
There you go. Mr. Baird.
Here.
Mrs. Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Tolet.
Here.
Mrs. Simmons. Mrs. Simmons. Did you unmute? Unmute. Mrs. Davis.
Here.
Mrs. Keys.
Here.
Mr. Jesse.
Here.
Mr. Stewart.
Here.
All present.
Public hearings?
There are none.
Can I get approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Sarah, second by Ms. Mitchell. Any discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carried. Remarks and reports from the city officials. Mayor Warfield.
Thank you, Council President, and good evening to you all. And I'll make my remarks very brief. I just wanted to echo kind of the email I sent to you all earlier that it's been a great ride this first year. It's been full of challenges, but I've just enjoyed working with you all, and I'm looking forward to a fruitful, collaborative, and fun 2021. So just wanted to share my appreciation for you all.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the mayor? Thank you, Mayor. Safety Director Firestein.
Through the chair to members of council, I'll echo what Mayor Whitfield just said. It's been a very interesting year, to say the least, but I've enjoyed every part of it, and looking forward to the challenges ahead and working together to try to solve those. In reference to the news that was last week with the union and the fire chief, we are currently reviewing the letter, and we will provide an update when we have reviewed it and have spoken to both union and fire chief, and hope to hopefully have a good resolution to that.
Very good. Any questions for Safety Service Director Firestein? Thank you, Mr. Firestein.
Thank you.
Finance Director Plesky.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to wish everybody out there and their families a Merry Christmas and a great 2021. Hopefully it's better than this year. Thank you.
I would concur. Any questions for Finance Director Plesky? No. Law Director Deary.
Good evening. I just want to wish everybody a happy, healthy holiday season, and we're looking forward to 2021. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Deary. I don't know if Chief Whiteley is in here. I don't see him on the list over and through. Okay. All right, Chief Mack.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to echo what Mayor Whitfield and Director Firestein have said. I'm going to reserve any comments until the city has had the opportunity to review all the charges, and we've had the opportunity to have a fair investigation, and I've had the opportunity to answer all the questions that have been raised. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief Mack in regards to any other things that have maybe in the past or anything? Can you answer them there? All right, very good. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Assistant Safety Service Director Brubaker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. First and foremost, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all of you. Like has already been stated, 2020 has been a extremely challenging year, and I'm looking forward to 2021. I have been talking to a number of the departments in regards to their budgets. And I know the mayor has directed us to start having meetings, so I've been doing some of that with them. And I'm very happy to say with some of the results that on the initial meetings with the departments on their asks I will say this is very, very positive in what they're asking for. A lot of them are asking, understanding the situation that we're in, are looking at every which way that they can to trim budgets. And the ones that I've seen are actually looking to reduce what they even received from last year. Not significant amounts, but amounts that I think will make their budgets usable, but also helping out the city where we need to do that as far as making some trimming of that. So looking forward to dealing with that over the next few weeks.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Brubaker? Okay. Is Engineer Schneider in?
Yes, Mr. President. No report today.
All right. Is there anybody else I didn't? Mr. Oswald?
Is that John Snyder? Is that he's here?
Yes.
I did. Okay. Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
I know that you've been in talks, and I don't know if you can say anything just yet, but I was kind of curious about how the connector road process is going. That would be my first question. And then the second question, are we making any progress on my issue over at Spring Valley, the water issue? So you might just give me a brief summary of those things, please.
Through you, Mr. President. Yes, we are moving forward with the road. We're trying to get that opened up as quickly as we can. Still have some few things to check out, finalize, but we are moving toward that. In regards to Spring Valley area, the drainage, we are working on that. Probably, actually, let's say after the first of the year, because I know a number of people in my office, they need to burn their vacation time. So we will have a number of people off, but we will have something to you really shortly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Schneider? Ms. Davis?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No question, but I just want to thank Mr. Snyder. West River from Lake Avenue to Furnace, we appreciate it. The road opened up this week, and we greatly appreciate it. And the residents, thank you.
Good. Thank you, Ms. Davis. Any other further questions for Mr. Schneider? Ms. Mitchell?
Thank you, Chair. Through you, I don't have a question for Mr. Schneider, but Ms. Flanders put in the chat that she could speak to the connector road, if you want to address that.
I don't know if she, am I at a loss here? I don't see her, or is she able to speak?
There she is.
Sorry, everyone.
Ms. Flanders, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Chief Engineer Schneider, thank you for sharing that. Just an update from the administration in regards to the connector road. So we've been working with Chief Engineer John Snyder and Administrative Council to potentially open the road within the next few days. We right now are waiting on feedback from insurance just to ensure that we're going to do so safely and with all things considered. Police are ready to go as far as citations on the connector road. All signs as far as engineering for roadway markers, speed, and everything are up. and the street department, as far as kind of plowing and including it in its routes, are ready to do so once that road is open. Just want to provide that update that we are working to open up that roadway in partnership, obviously, with these departments, and we're just waiting on that update from Travelers Insurance.
So how does that work
And
if,
through you, Mr. Council President Stewart, just an update from my office. I've indicated to Administrative Legal Counsel as well that as far as we are concerned, we have outside legal counsel. We've been working with them as well as administration with the developers legal counsel. And it is the position of my office that we would not make any moves until we have gotten a satisfactory report from our outside legal counsel to open the road through the traditional channels and bring that matter for dedication through council. Thank you.
so I guess, how does that, and as far as, I know Ms. Deary's there, but Ms. Flanders, and if the mayor wants to weigh in as well, but does the road have to be, I mean, there's a process, and I know the mayor and I kind of spoke maybe a couple weeks ago in regard to that. And, but I know there was a process that we thought maybe the road had to be dedicated to the city, platted, and there was some things that and concerns, and maybe that's what Ms. Deary's is speaking of, that maybe things aren't all in a line. So, Chief, Mayor Whitfield, if you want to comment on that.
Sure. So yeah, the traditional process for a project like this, unfortunately, hasn't been followed from the beginning, which is just the reality of sometimes you got deals like this. You just got to make them happen. But a lot of the work we're doing now is work that should have been done on the front end. But one of those challenges that we're faced with now is around the dedication of the road, which, as Director Derry mentioned, needs to come through you all. And in particular, there needs to be some conversation around setbacks and utilities. So there's a lot of development work with the site still. However, that doesn't mean that we can't use the road. And so some of our challenges or concerns were around coverage. Would insurance still cover this road? Because it has to be treated similar to how we treat a parking lot or how we treat a driveway or how we treat a park. But one of the concerns is around also around police, and would they be able to patrol and enforce law? And the chief of police has confirmed, yes, they can enforce law. So police patrol will be ready. As Ms. Flanders mentioned, Director Schneider has already got signage up. So for this first wave, it'll just be like a drive-through road until we get to the place where we can dedicate, name the road, then it'll be an official road, and hopefully we'll have development plans. We have to wait on the developer to give us plans for the site for that. So in the meantime, we thought it was important to do what we could to make sure the residents are able to take advantage of the road that they paid for. And so that's what we're pursuing now. But we still got a couple more check boxes to cover.
Yeah. All right. I didn't know if I drove by there the other day, and I didn't know if I seen some of the signage or a stoplight that's there. Is that's all kind of set up and everything like that? Or is that just kind of a stop, just a 4-way stop or 2-way, 3-way stop? John?
There is a traffic light there right now. It's just blinking. It is set to, we can go over there, flip the switch, and it will run in a cycle. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles that the new one will have because it's a temporary signal. But it is functioning, and we just have to go out there and flip the switch. So,
okay. Ms. Mitchell.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, I guess I'm confused. Mrs. Deary is saying that we probably should not use this road until everything is in place and in line.
Through you, Mrs. Mitchell, this is a matter of real estate. The charter specifically says that real estate falls under the umbrella of council. I believe that this should not be used by the public until and unless it is dedicated as a public road. I have expressed this on numerous occasions, and that is my legal advice. However, I've made that quite clear, and we will see how this goes.
So I guess, I don't know, where are we with this? I mean, our council is saying we can't use it or we shouldn't, and the administration saying it's ready to go. We're getting mixed messages here, I guess.
I guess my thing would be, not to yes, I guess if the mayor wants to answer that, but I guess a big concern that we would have is, I mean, I know that we want to open up the road, but if it's not going through the proper channels or going through planning commission, ultimately to dedicate the road and some of the concerns that are there, I think, you know, that those things need to be looked at. And I mean, I guess, are we getting a lot of calls in from the general public as far as opening this up?
Yeah, and through you, Chair, yeah, most definitely. The public recognizes that, one, the road is complete. Two, that the city actually paid additional dollars so that it could be done in an expedited fashion. So this road actually got done. And a part of the agreement, I believe, spoke to the road being open in November. So we just really are just trying to keep it the timetable. But all the concerns, the major concerns we had around liability, which again, we're waiting to hear back from our insurance agent on. Enforcement, we've gotten taken care of. Police are ready, as you heard from Chief Engineer Schneider. We're ready from an engineering standpoint. So on our end, and we've spoken with the council that the city hired prior, you know, to this deal, working with Squire. We've spoken to them about, you know, concerns that may be. And so we're making sure we're crossing all our T's, dotting our I's. We're going to make sure we do this responsibly, but at the same time, we don't want to hold things up because, again, a lot of this stuff should have been done a long time ago, you know, with plans on site plans on what's going to be developed there and plats and dedication. And so right now, the options are you wait for this developer to give you that, which we have no control over, or we do what we can, which was what we've done as an administration, and mitigated the risk. And now we're ready to, you know, we almost are ready to open the road.
So
well, with all due respect, I disagree. I can't really much do anything about what should have happened in the past, but I can absolutely do my best to make sure that we do things properly going forward. And no, we can't control what somebody else does, but one of the main things in our contract with the developer is that we would cooperate, and that is what we are doing with Squires, our outside counsel. And Squires is, we just spoke to them on several occasions over the last 48 hours. And I am confident that, again, we are paying them good money. They provide legal advice to us as a city. My office, my predecessor, Attorney Sarazin, engaged them. They are working with the developer's attorney, and that is the course that I am recommending to council to proceed in, and I'd be happy to have an executive session with council. Obviously not tonight, but in the very near future, should you wish to discuss that. But again, long story short, it is my recommendation that we would not allow the general public to use this property until it is dedicated as a public street, and all of the benefits that come along with that are in place. And that's all
Deary,
I have to say about that.
Thank you, Law Director Deary. So why, I mean, I know seems to be taken beforehand when the plans are in the process, but this road has been going on since, John, I can't remember. Has it been October since when they started the construction of this? But why has it not been going through the process all the way through? Usually getting the road dedicated, platted is a big thing prior to all the utility and easements. I mean, the conversations should have been going on along while the road was being constructed. If plans need to be amended or revised to accommodate that. And then where's the developer and all this, that why this is such a delay in getting these on planning commission and ultimately to getting the road dedicated?
Yeah, and I think that's where the ownership lies in, is just waiting on the developer to submit their plans. And there's been conversations before I started and the whole time I've been in office about potential plans and potential submission of things, but it hasn't happened. And again, I just think to the director's point, we've had conversations with our outside legal counsel that we do pay a pretty penny for to address the concerns that were there. And to her point, I think if there's an executive session in the future that we want to talk about our position and how we want to negotiate it, that's fine. But, from our conversation with the outside legal counsel, my administrative counsel, we believe that that we can open this road safely and not violate any laws or anything, and still do it the right way.
And through you, Mr. President, I don't think this is necessarily an appropriate forum to discuss the contract and potential negotiations, but I can tell you that my assessment in speaking with our outside legal counsel, needless to say, is much different than the administration's, and I stand by my my recommendations to this council. But again, I do not wish and don't think it's appropriate to discuss this further in an open session, although I appreciate all the questions.
Sure. So I think maybe at this time, if through the administration, that I think, I know that you're going through the proper channels, but maybe we don't open the road until we get clarification from Squires. I mean, I guess I don't know what, from our standpoint, from a council standpoint, that we can, if we just say that, at this point, we recommend not moving forward with opening that road until we get clarification from our Squires who is handling this and where we're at with the developer.
Well, Mr. President, I'm telling you that our city charter specifically states that real estate is under the umbrella of council. And I would say that utilizing that property, which is city property, falls under council's authority. And I have made that statement to Attorney Taylor. I have made that statement on numerous occasions to various members of the administration, and I will say that now to council. And I believe that the president, that's where I stand.
Okay, very good. So Mr. Sarah, if you want to comment, I think if this is, I don't want to have a lot of dialogue on it because I know that the law director, Dear, and I think this is, we're going to have more discussion in regards to this, but I'll let Mr. Sarah make a comment. And then I think what we'll end up doing is, having a meeting here in the near future in regarding and going into executive session. Mr. Sarah.
Thank you, through you, Mr. President. The only question I would have is, when can we have an executive session to get this thing going?
Well, I think the proper notifications would have to go through, whether that's after Christmas. I think we'd have to talk to the law director's office, figure out what we can, and then have those conversations. But, if the law director, Deary, is saying that this is not the best course of action, then I think that's the message that we should heed. And at this particular time, and then, see where we, with Squires Nelson and the developer's attorneys, why we can't expedite this or why this is taking such a long time to develop. I think that's the best course of action, whether it's another week to do that. Ms. Mitchell?
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, would it be possible at the next executive session to have the developer and Squires come to that meeting to give us some clarity?
I do not, through you, Mr. President, I do not know that it would be in the best interest of the city to have both sides there. But I certainly don't see why we cannot ask our legal counsel to be present.
Yeah, I would recommend that. So after the meeting here, maybe we can coordinate with the administration, with Ms. Deary, Ms. Flanders, Mr. Bruning, I see has popped on as well, and just kind of get our heads together as far as when we can do to get this thing together and see what we can expedite this process, because it is a road that's is developed, but it's not totally complete to where the process that we go. And the mayor made a comment regarding, this is a unique, but I think we may lose maybe a little bit of leverage where if we move forward with this. So I think at this time, I think what is in the best interest that we hold off in opening up that road until we have communication regarding that. I think that's in the best interest of the city. So, thank you. I think that's everybody, right? I guess we'll go to President's referrals. Item number 1, Community Development Planning Commission. Item number 2, Community Development. Item number 3, Community Development. Item number 4, Community Development. Item number 5, Utilities. Petitions and remonstrances from council members.
There are none.
Petitions and remonstrances from the lobby.
There's one from Teresa Shea, 519 East Avenue, Elyria, Ohio. The computer class for seniors and all the goodwill is funded by the city of Elyria and needs to continue. It reaches the lost and forgotten. Older people such as myself and others of Elyria are in need of being refreshed with the possibility of the use of and knowledge of the advanced computer world. No one else has reached this population. Bart Gonzalez is a very professional and competent teacher, and the funding of the program is necessary to continue. Speaking for myself, I was overwhelmed like many with the classes. Bart and Dante as assistant, I felt like a door opened to let the light in. The future with the new computer and online classes is promising and interesting. And that's it from the lobby.
Thank you, Mr. Shea. Reports of standing and special committees.
There are none.
Resolutions first reading.
Sponsored by Finance. A resolution approving a list submitted by the Safety Service Director for the collection of delinquent, inactive utility accounts and directing the Clerk of Council to certify said accounts to the Lorain County Auditor.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this resolution be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any discussion?
Question.
Question. On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution 2020-30. And that's all resolutions first reading.
Resolutions second reading.
There are none.
Resolutions third reading.
There are none.
Ordinances first reading.
Sponsored by Community Development. An ordinance amending section 1131.02 codified ordinances of the city of Elyria, Ohio, known as the zoning ordinance, to rezone certain real property located between West Ridge Road and Fowl Road, Elyria, Ohio, from a R-LD residential low density district to a R-MD residential medium district density.
I declare this ordinance has first reading, public hearing scheduled for Monday, February 1st, 2021.
Sponsored by Community Development. An ordinance granting a conditional use permit pursuant to Chapter 1135 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Elyria, Ohio, to Ridgewater Ltd. for a R-PUD residential plan unit development cluster homes at real property located between West Ridge Road and Fowl Road, Elyria, Ohio.
I declare this ordinance has its first reading, public hearing scheduled for Monday, February 1st, 2021.
Sponsored by Community Development. An ordinance amending section 1131.02 codified ordinances of the city of Elyria, Ohio, known as the zoning ordinance, to rezone real property located at 265 Washington Avenue, Elyria, Ohio, from an R-MHH residential multi-household high-density district to a B-N business neighborhood district.
I declare that this ordinance has its first reading scheduled for, public hearing scheduled for February 1st, 2021.
Sponsored by Finance, an ordinance establishing the Elyria Skill City Initiative Program in partnership with Lorain County Community College.
Mr. Callahan. Mr. Callahan?
Do you have your mute on?
I don't see Tom.
Donna, do you want to take that?
Sure.
One sec, okay.
He's unmuting. He's unmuting.
Okay.
Go ahead, Tom.
Go Go ahead, Donna. Go ahead and make the motion.
Sure. Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tolet. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called on the suspension. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2020-168. Donna motion. Sponsored by Finance, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2020-38, known as the 2020 Permanent Appropriations Ordinance, to change funds in various accounts.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any discussion?
Question.
Question on the suspension. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2020-169. Sponsored by Finance, an ordinance to fix temporary appropriations for the first 3 months of the year 2021 and other expenses of the city of Elyria, Ohio.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called on the suspension. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2020-170. Sponsored by Finance, an ordinance authorizing the finance director to transfer funds to the specified account.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any discussion?
Question.
Question's been called on the suspension. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2020-171. Sponsored by Finance. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Walter Haberfield LLP for collective bargaining services and other specialized legal services, labor issues, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any discussion?
Question.
Question's been called on the suspension. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2020-172. Sponsored by Finance, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a professional service agreement with Macaulay and Company LLC for grant consulting and writing, government and public relations, and resource development services, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any discussion?
Question.
Question's been called on the suspension. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. And the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion
Ordinance
carried.
2020-173. Sponsored by Finance, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2016-6, known as the salary ordinance for employees of the Elyria Municipal Court judges, effective forthwith, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
20-174. Sponsored by Finance. An ordinance amending ordinance number 2016-6, known as the salary ordinance for employees of the clerk of the Elyria Municipal Court, effective forthwith, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
2020-175. Sponsored by Finance. Ordinance authorizing the mayor to purchase 6 Ford Explorer police interceptor vehicles and necessary equipment for the same for the Elyria Police Department through the participating purchasing program authorized by the state of Ohio and declared an emergency.
Mr. Tolet. Sorry, Mr. Callahan.
Mr. Callahan.
Mr. Callahan, my apologies. Mr. Callahan.
That's quite all right, Mr. Stewart. Mr. President, I move that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tolet. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2020-176. Sponsored by Utilities, Safety, and Environment. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a professional services agreement with the CT Consultants, Inc. for professional design and interception services for the Clark Street Water Tower Improvement Project and declared an emergency.
Ms. Mitchell.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2020-177. Sponsored by Finance and Utilities. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement for the lease or purchase of 2 2021 Vector 2115 combination sewer cleaning trucks and 1 2021 IBAC CCTV camera truck through the Ohio State Purchasing Program for the wastewater pollution control plant and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second.
Second by Ms. Mitchell. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2020-178. sponsored by Community Development and Finance. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the 2020 Fall Nord Family Foundation Grant for the Elyria Community Development Corporation Initiative Project and declare an emergency.
Mr. Callahan.
Mr. President, I move that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules and declare an emergency.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tolet. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay.
Aye.
On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2020-179. Sponsored by Community Development and Finance. An ordinance approving the application for the Downtown Facade Improvement Program created by ordinance 2019-19 for improvements at 309 Broad Street, Elyria, Ohio.
Mr. Callahan.
Mr. President, I move that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tolet. Is there any discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. On this, was this under suspension?
Yes.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Ordinance 2020-180. That's all ordinances first reading.
Ordinance is second reading.
There are none.
Ordinance is third reading.
There are none.
Committee calls.
Community Development requests the presence of the Law Director, Safety Service Director, Engineer, and Building Inspector on 1/11, streamed live at 6 p.m., joint with Finance, all referred items. Finance requests the Mayor, Finance Director, Law Director, Safety Service Director, and Engineer on 1/11/2021, streamed live immediately following CD, all referred items. Utilities, Safety, and Environment requests the Safety Service Director, Law Director, and Engineer at 6 p.m. No date. Donna's going to have to set that meeting as far as the date.
Okay.
So I guess we'll let you know. Strategic Plan requests the Mayor, Safety Service Director, Finance Director, and Law Director on 1/4/2021, streamed live immediately following regular council meeting, all referred items.
Okay. So in regards to what was discussed in regards to the connector road, I will coordinate with Ms. Deary and the administration to see when we can have the next meeting. I would think probably for the first part of the week of next week, but we'll have discussion. We'll try to expedite that meeting to kind of get everybody on the same page in a direction moving forward.
So through you, Council President, just for clarification, because right now we've done all the legwork and prepared to allow the road to be a drive-through, and would like to know where council stands on that and what information you still desire. I heard the law department stance, but you all are your own body as well. So I'd like to hear where you all are at in terms of what information would you still like? And I thought I heard you say you'd like to have the outside legal counsel provide you an opinion. And once that is complete, then you'd feel comfortable.
Well, I
With
would.
all due respect, I think, Mr. President, my advice to you would be that would be something that we would have outside counsel who was retained by my office brief you in executive session.
Right. So I would think based on what's being discussed here, Mayor, I think that we're being advised by the law director that we would hold off on opening the road based on what her opinion is and the process that goes through. I think after this meeting tonight, I think we'll have a phone call conversations with you and the law director. We'll try to get this thing together to get it on an executive session. I think the law director, the Squires would be, should attend the meeting, obviously, to kind of get what your conversation was and what through the law directors, there seems to be different conversations happening with that. And so I think we need to be on the same page before we open the road. So I think it's I would say from council's perspective, I would think that we heed the advice of the law director at this particular time and not open that road.
Vic, do you think we can do that this Monday or Tuesday?
Yes.
So we can get this moving?
Yeah, I would say yes. I mean, time is of the essence. We want to make sure that we're following the proper protocol. So I would say that we would have it probably the first part of the week. I would say Monday. If we can do that, if everybody can make that. I mean, I know it's there, but with Zooming now and we can do all that. I think it's important that we, try to
Mr. President, when you're talking about first part of the week, for what purposes? For us to have a phone call?
To have an executive session.
Are you talking about next week?
Next Monday.
I mean, obviously that would depend upon, we would have to get the notices out and we will have to see if our attorneys are available.
Okay.
And I can't obviously make that guarantee due to holiday schedules.
Sure. Well, then we'll talk and we'll talk either after the meeting, Amanda.
Okay.
Or tomorrow morning
Yes.
to kind of get a path moving forward. I know this is the holiday season, people have things going on, but we'll try to do whatever we can.
Yes.
To expedite the process.
I will be available. Obviously, I can't, commit them. Otherwise, I would say, we try our best to do it on at the next council meeting.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right. Let's see where I'm at here. Miscellaneous and unfinished business. Anybody have anything for miscellaneous? Mr. Oswald?
Through Mr. President, I brought this comment up a few times already, and it seems nothing's being done. There's a traffic issue in front of Dunkin' Donuts on Abbey Road across from the college. And I thought that maybe somebody in administration might reach out to the owners to see if there's something that we can do to get the traffic off of the street and into their parking lot. I did drop off my card, talk to a manager. Hopefully I can speak to somebody in charge so we can be work together on something for a good resolution so that nobody gets in an accident, gets hurt, and they can still get inside and get their coffee. We now see that the Dunkin' Donuts on East Broad Street that we approved had 2 lanes going in so that they can keep the traffic off of Broad Street, because that's going to be a big issue. They need to change something or do something over at Abbey Road so that they can accomplish the same thing. What we're finding out now that we have to change the way that our businesses run and how we send these approvals through planning commission with parking spaces. More people are driving through than stopping. I think that's going to be the nature of the beast. So things are going to be changed. Hopefully we can get something resolved over there as far as maybe putting 2 lanes in. But if they could see that we want to be a good partner with them, with the city, that maybe we could come to a resolution and they could show the people that they really want to be good partners also with the city. So let's hope that I can get a hold of somebody, and if not, somebody in administration that wants to give me a hand so we can get something accomplished over there before somebody gets really hurt. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Oswald. Okay, we'll look into that.
Kenny? Hello?
Yes.
I have a message from Dave at Dunkin' Donuts. He's going to call Kenny Oswald probably tomorrow. The company had a meeting today about that.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go, Mr. Oswald. So they'll be in touch with you to kind of get what that is, and then forward that information on to the administration so that they can have a plan of action over there as well. So everyone's on the same page like you just spoke. Very good.
Thank you.
All right. Any other miscellaneous and unfinished business? All right.
Mr. President, so
Yeah.
I would ask, since we do have the pertinent participants here, if you'd be so kind as to adjourn into executive session if there is no further business.
Yep. Ms. Mitchell?
Mr.
Nope. Donna, you're
Mr. President, I make the motion that we move into executive session
Second.
for pending litigation.
for pending
Yes.
litigation.
Second by Mr. Callahan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Oh,
Aye.
I believe you need a roll call
Roll
vote.
call vote.
Roll call.
Roll call vote. Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr.
Mr.
Sierra?
Sierra, I'll take it, Vic, if you
Okay,
want.
sorry.
Mr. Sierra,
Aye.
Mr. Oswald,
Aye.
Mr. Baird,
Aye.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Aye.
Mr. Tolet,
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons, Mrs.
She's on
Simmons,
mute. She's on mute.
Mrs. Davis, Mrs. Davis,
Aye. Oh, shoot.
Mrs. Keys,
Aye.
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Stewart,
Aye.
all ayes.
Okay, so at this time, Corey,
Yep, give me 1 minute. I'll let you know when we're ready.
okay,